Hey everybody, it is Brian Nemhauser from hawkblogger.com and want to welcome you to this year's 2017 Seahawks prediction show. We've got our annual special guests. They are regulars on the prediction show, and they've had ups and downs in terms of their performances, just like some of our favorite teams. First, I want to welcome Mina of ESPN, and Mina has been taking on all sorts of new gigs this year. Mina, welcome to the show, and can you let us know where they can find you all across ESPN's airwaves?
Sure. I am on Around the Horn and Highly Questionable. I write for ESPN, the magazine, and then we have a new NFL podcast that comes out on Monday that I'll be announcing. It's a team podcast, so yeah, that'll be fun.
Nice. And if you missed it, Mina did an excellent was it E60? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, that's what they're called. Yeah.
Yeah, E60 on Cam Chancellor, and that must have been a really cool experience. We'll have to hear a little bit about it another time. Yeah. Next person to join has also been a regular guest and was on just actually a couple days ago because he cannot get enough of the Hawk Blogger podcast. It is Danny Kelly, formerly of Field Goals, now of the Ringer fame. Danny, welcome to the show, and let us know.
Thank you.
What are you working on right now that we should be bracing for?
I am working on an article right now that is predicting the NFL's leaders in several categories: passing yards, passing touchdowns, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, receptions, etc.
Oh, that is very appropriate.
Yeah.
You know, on message for today. So
no Seahawks involved, sorry.
Oh, wow, a little foreshadowing, and we'll just have to see if we agree with what you end up with. I think you remember how people welcomed the Mike Sando article recently about where top quarterbacks were. So
you know what? I want to just, like, everybody thinks, I feel like Mike Sando gets so much crap. They're not his predictions, guys. Everybody yells at him, and it's not Sando. Like, people leave it alone.
I think anyone that's yelling at Sando is, you know, lower common denominator of fandoms out there. I think most people I've seen are mostly just griping about what NFL front offices and scouts think of quarterbacks nowadays. All right, so we've been informed that Danny has a hard stop at 3 o'clock because these two, they work around the clock. I think Mina was on this morning from like 9 to 12. So we feel very privileged to have them on for a little bit of time. We actually have 27 predictions to go through today. We're going to try to do quick hitters, and we'll see how far we get. And if we happen to not get through everything, we can always come back and fill them in offline, and you know, I'll let people know what you guys thought. So let's go ahead and get right into it. And we're going to go with Danny first this year. And this is a tough one, but the question is, who will have more rushing touchdowns this season? Marshawn Lynch or all the Seahawks running backs combined?
Oh man. I'm going to go with, oh my gosh. I'm going to go with all the Seahawks combined.
Going with all the Seahawks.
I think the Seahawks will be a better rushing team than the Raiders overall. I'll put it that way.
Wow. That's a bold prediction in of itself. Mina, where do you come down on this one?
Yeah, definitely taking the Seahawks field. I would not take any individual Seahawks running back, though.
No.
Well, those are both good answers. The correct answer is Marshawn Lynch. That's what I'm saying.
Wait, what is your guess? What is your guess for him this year in terms of touchdowns?
I believe Marshawn Lynch is going to have the best season of his career. I'm predicting, I will say he's going to go for over 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns.
Because their line is so good, Brian?
What's that?
Is it just because the Raiders' line is so ridiculous?
I don't think Marshawn's ever run behind a line like that. I don't believe that. We've all seen how he runs for Seattle. I don't think we've yet seen how he runs for Oakland, his hometown. And from what I've seen so far in the preseason, which has been limited, I see no change in his acceleration or strength, and he actually looks refreshed. So I think all those things combined are going to lead to him having a pretty big year.
I agree with you, Brian. My question is, does Russell Wilson rushing touchdowns count?
No, this is specifically Seahawks running backs. So and this is good. It's good you're clarifying because we're moving on to the next question. And Mina, you get to take this one first. Okay. It's related. Who will have more rushing yards this season, Marshawn Lynch or all the Seahawks running backs combined?
I think I'm pretty optimistic about the Seahawks running game. I'm not as high on Lynch as you are, Brian. I'm going to take the Seahawks again. I just think the age thing is so real with running backs. I know he's looked okay. I know it's the Raiders line. I know they have a great offense. I also think the Raiders defense is so bad that they might be playing a little bit more catch up than people expect in terms of volume.
Makes sense. I also picked the Seahawks running backs in this case. Danny, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going with the Seahawks, the field or whatever you call it. I think
there you go.
I think Pete Carroll was infuriated with the Seahawks run game last year.
You can tell when he talks about it.
I don't know if Pete Carroll gets infuriated, dude, but I know.
Well, for Pete,
he gets a little.
He was more pumped and jacked up about it than I've seen, and I think he's gonna go out set out to prove a point this year.
Yeah.
This is their team. This is still their identity. He got so many questions about how they're turning into a passing team last year. I think he's going to be like, screw that. We're going to run it down everybody's throats this year. So that's what I'm guessing. So I'm going Seahawks.
That's a perfect segue into the next prediction, which is Seattle threw the ball 62% of the time last season. 62. What percentage of the time will they pass the ball this season?
Do you have is it cheating to tell us what the stats would be for the 2 years before that?
They
were closer to 50, they've generally been around 52, 51 prior to.
So I'm gonna say 57.
57, that's still
I think it'll go down a bit.
Your last little soapbox about Pete Carroll getting back to the run.
Well, I think it's gonna go. I think there's still it's just the nature of the game in general. I still think I think that the percentage will go down a bit. But I still think that, they're still going to lean on Wilson also. I just think that they're going to be a lot more effective running the ball this year, more efficient, better yards per attempt.
Yeah.
They were 3.9 as a team last year, 3.9 yards per carry as a team last year, which is just terrible. So, I think the efficiency will improve quite a bit, but I still think they'll lean on Wilson quite a bit as well in the passing game.
Yeah, also just given how incredible Wilson has looked in preseason, I think we can all agree on that. Leaning on his evolution as a player and a passer, I think it'll naturally be more than before, but I'm going to undercut Danny and just say 56.
A little Price is Right.
Freaking Price is Right.
I love it. I'm actually, I agree with everything you guys are saying, except for your number. So the logic there for me goes, I think they're healthiest when they're running about 52, 53% of the time. I think that they're going to be ahead more this year, and I think that they're going to end up grinding it out in the second half. So I've got them down at 53%, which is still higher than they normally have been, but much different than the 62% they were at last year.
Yeah, the game scripts could definitely matter in terms of are they leading and all that. So that's a great point.
Defense too, yeah.
Yep. So now we go to, I think, what every Seahawks fan is kind of curious about, and a tough one to answer, I would say. This is which Seahawk will start the most games at left tackle. And I will give you guys a second to think through this. I will go first this time. I'm going with something pretty straightforward. I'm going with Reese Odiombo. I think he's going to be competent enough. As I've written, I think George Fant last year might have been a 3 out of 10 as a left tackle, and maybe this year would have been a 5 or a 6 out of 10. I think Reese Odiombo can be a 3 or a 4 out of 10. I think he can be similar to what Fant was last year, maybe a little bit better. And this team beat the Atlanta Falcons and Tom Brady last year with a 3 out of 10 at left tackle. So I don't think it's going to hold them back in that way. How about you, Mina?
Yeah, the only thing that gives me pause on Reese is when they talk about him, they seem weirdly unenthusiastic. And I think there might be some weird reasons for that. Obviously, like the rest of Seahawks fandom, I was fairly impressed last week, or is it this week? Whatever, week 3. And it seems also like they're very committed to keeping Joko at guard. So I just, given the lack of options, it just seems like a no-brainer.
Okay, so you're going with Reese.
Going with Reese.
All right. Danny?
I'm going with Reese also. I think it seems clear they want to keep Joko at left guard. And frankly, I don't think he would be any better at left tackle. I think he's still probably not – I don't think he's quite as athletic as Odiombo in terms of his movement ability.
He's good at guard too, man. I mean, I've gone back and rewatched some of the series one, like the one drives, and I was really blown away by Joko at guard.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it makes sense if you don't want to disrupt the entire line. Like, I mean, this is kind of what the Seahawks have always done. So I guess it's kind of counterintuitive to say that maybe they'll stick with the interior line and just put a new left tackle out there, but it just doesn't make as much sense to me to flip everybody and you kind of get downgrades at every position instead. Yeah. So
that makes sense to me. And Mina, to your point, I absolutely have been tuned in as well to the kind of lukewarm reception that Reese has gotten from coaches. I mean, Pete and Tom Cable tend to be really over positive about guys. My only read on it is I think Odiombo is a better pass protector than he is a run blocker. I think he's actually a pretty poor run blocker. I think that they evaluate their linemen at 80% of the evaluation is how they are as a run blocker. And I just think it bothers them. That's my guess.
And that's worked out so great.
Well, they might argue it has, but I agree with you. I'd like to see a little bit different.
The whole, right.
Yeah. So let's move on then to a guy that'll be running behind them on that offensive line. CJ Prosise. He's been brittle. He's also been explosive when he's been on the game, and he's pretty what's the word? Fans have very different opinions on him. It starts with a P. I can't remember the word. But
I was thinking divisive.
Yeah, it's divisive, but polarizing.
Polarizing.
See, I have two good writers on. I knew that one of you would come up with it. So, Danny, how many games will CJ Prosise play this year? This is the closest to the pin prediction.
Let's say 10.
10 games.
Let's go low on that one.
Okay. Mina, where are you at on CJ Prosise's games?
I'm going to go half a season. The only thing that I am optimistic about is that he's getting injured in different places all over his body. At least it's not he doesn't have a gimp ankle or something, but it's the groin is the latest, right? He's going to run out of places eventually, so.
Yes, because Matt McGloin has been injured. I've got CJ Prosise at 12 games this season. None of us are particularly optimistic. That's not a lot of games played. And I don't know that he's given us much reason to be optimistic, but he's a wild card. When he was in, I mean, he was a huge playmaker. So, and they don't need him this year, but certainly be a boost if he could play.
Yeah, I love him. So
I forget what he's like. I just feel I forget what kind of runner he is because you haven't seen him hardly ever.
He's almost harder to remember as a runner than he is as a receiver. New Orleans, New England, his plays down the field were pretty remarkable. And anyway,
Carson, was that Carson where he dumped it off to him and he picked it was Carson, right? Or was it Davis?
Chris Carson, yes. I mean, there's been dump offs to Mike Davis as well, but Chris Carson has definitely shown that he can catch the ball really well, and he can pretty much do everything really well. So we actually have a question on Mr. Carson coming up later, so I'll let you
hold off on that.
Just wonder about what that will be.
Yes, the Hall of Fame. I already know what the question is. First ballot.
Yes, damn it, I'm gonna have to rewrite it. So another closest to the pin question. This one's about Doug Baldwin. Doug Baldwin, I believe, had 93 catches last year, I want to say. I am predicting he will have 101 catches this year. Mina, how many catches do you believe Doug Baldwin will have?
Catches, you're saying?
Catches, receptions.
Okay, and how many did he have last year?
He had 94.
94. Thank you, Dan.
94. Okay. And that was like top 10. I mean, part of me doesn't want to go up because I think the wide receiver core is going to be better this year. So I'm going to say 90.
I think that's very wise and much wiser than my prediction. But yeah.
Awesome, to be clear. And I've loved what I've seen out of him in preseason so far.
So does anyone have it off the top of their head? I doubt it, but what was Baldwin's like the quarterback rating on passes to Baldwin last year? Wasn't it like close to perfect or something ridiculous?
It was. I can pull it up here in a little bit and come back.
I just remember it being somewhere in the 110s or 120s or something. But so I'm with Mina. I'm going a little bit lower. I'll go 87. He had 125 targets last year. He caught 75% of them. And like I said, like that's a really high catch rate for that many targets. Like for instance, I was just doing an article on Beckham, and his catch rate was like 58 or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
So
typical is around 60.
Really efficient. Yeah. Okay. Then is that that kind of the NFL average is 60 or so?
I don't know if it's the average, but when I've done a lot of these catch rate breakdowns, and a lot of the top targets guys are around 60%.
There you go.
It's pretty rare for guys to break into 70, and Baldwin certainly is in kind of rarefied air with his catch rate.
Yeah, so like if you think he's going to get 150 targets or something like that, I could see him breaking 100 receptions. He had 125 last year. I think Jimmy Graham will probably go up a bit. He had 95 last year. Lockett had 66. Curse had 89. I think probably some of Curse's will be distributed to like Richardson and hopefully some of the other young guys that are looking pretty exciting so far in the preseason, Kaysen or whoever. But yeah, man, it just seems like that was the peak of efficiency. And if we're saying they're going to pass it a little bit less, I'm going to go with a little bit lower number. That's not to say he's going to have a lesser year. I think he's established himself as one of the best receivers in the NFL.
Well, it's an interesting point, and I'll expand just for a second on earlier when I said the Seahawks will pass the ball 53% of the time this year versus 62. I actually think their pass attempts may be equal or even greater than they were last year. I think that they're going to be a much more efficient offense, and we saw that in 2015 in the second half of the year where everyone's like, "Oh my God, their passing game took off and they stopped running." That actually wasn't the case. They actually ran the ball more the second half of the year in 2015, but because they were converting so many more third downs, they had a lot more plays. So we'll see if that plays out. But that's when the Seahawks offense is at its best. Is obviously they're just churning out plays. So this is kind of related and a tough one. I'll give you guys a little context here. So I'm going to ask you to rank who will be the top 3 red zone targets for the Seahawks this year in terms of targets in the red zone. Last year, it was Baldwin number 1, Jermaine Kearse number 2, and Jimmy Graham number 3.
I don't like that order.
I chilled when you said that.
I was biting my tongue there.
Yes. So the Seahawks, obviously, they've got Paul Richardson. They've got maybe Kaysen Williams. Other guys could emerge. Danny, give me a 1, a 2, and a 3 in red zone targets this season.
I think it'll be 1 Baldwin, 2 Graham, and then 3 Lockett.
Lockett.
Really? Because I don't think they like to throw to him there at all. I think, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if CJ Prosise is in that mix? But I'm going to go 1 Baldwin, 2 Graham, 3 Richardson. Obviously, that's assuming he's healthy, but they love those infuriating fades, and he's probably the best target for that.
Yeah, I mean, Russell loves throwing those into the chest of the player. For as much as I love Russell Wilson, that's one pass I would love him to keep practicing. All right, yeah, I actually have Baldwin, Graham, and Curse still number 3.
Yeah, I could see that actually.
We're in denial over here.
I know. I didn't want to necessarily write that name, but I keep expecting something different and keep getting a lot of the same. I'm just hopeful that Graham really is too.
I'd love to see. I was thinking this last week because Curse had that really amazing catch in the last game. He's had a couple of nice catches, and I was thinking over the last season he was so bad. But if you took out the red zone, I wonder how better his stats would look.
Yep. He was pretty troublesome last year all over the field, and I know there's some folks that feel differently and have broken down every throw, and that a lot of them were Wilson not putting the ball in good places for him. But
sure.
Honestly, this is a guy that's never been a separation receiver and has decreasingly been a high point receiver. So the types of things he does particularly well have diminished. But he's looked a lot better this year. And if he can just make the plays that he's supposed to make, I still think he is a viable 4th or 5th receiver in the NFL without much question.
Yeah.
So now let's turn our attention to a controversial figure that's been added to the team this year. He was all of our favorite player a couple of years ago in the playoffs.
I know where this is going.
We no longer have Hausch Money as our kicker. And I know that Danny's happy about that. He said Stephen Hausch infuriated him with his low kicks. And, funny what infuriates people in the world. Mina, I want to tell you that Blair Walsh is a career 84% kicker in terms of his field goals made. Last year, he was 75%, caused the Vikings to let him go. What will be his percentage this year?
What was Hauschka's last year? Just out of curiosity, do you happen to have that?
Stephen Hauschka's last year. I will look that up for you.
I'm just curious because it felt like you missed so many. How many were blocked too? Goodness.
Stephen Hauschka made 89.2% of his field goals last year.
Field goals, though, right? So if you include extra points,
we're just talking about field goals. I'll be
Hauschka, he was making the field goals. It was the extra points, right? That was right. I mean, anyway,
both, yeah.
So kickers are funny because career statistics, it can be so weird because it's such a mental position, right? So a kicker can have a totally off year and then revert, and I feel like it's not entirely predictable. I mean, with Blair, what I was so thrilled was to see him miss a kick and then come back and be perfect. Because I was like, oh man, if this guy misses it, what if it happens again? The yips or whatever. And he seems fine. And he's kicking them, like the one he missed too. I think Danny may have talked about it. The fact that it was still up the middle was very comforting to me, and it just fell short. So I'm gonna go optimistic on him, and I'm gonna go 90.
90, love it.
I love him.
Oh, you know what? As I was typing that in here, the computer actually had me type 9%. So hopefully that's not an omen of things to come. Danny,
I'm gonna go 89%.
89.
I'm gonna price this right you. Price is right you here. Yeah, I thought it was very encouraging that he missed the first one against his former team, and they were like talking shit and like being jerks about it. And I thought it was encouraging to see him come back and hit 2 more 50-yarders, right? Both of them were from, I think it was like 51 and 52 or something.
Yeah, totally. The fortitude impressed me a lot.
So that was really good because, I mean, obviously it's not a regular season game, but there's some stuff on the line there. Like he was emotionally involved. And, I think that was encouraging. And like we talked about, he was a very, very good kicker before he got the yips, and yeah. I mean, I can see why he did. Like honestly, like missing that kick would be brutal. So hopefully, the combination of just the passage of time has helped, and then being on the Seahawks with what they dedicate to sort of like their mental preparation and all that visualization and all that. Hopefully that will help. But I'm banking on him getting better. It's been very positive so far in the preseason, and we'll see like when he misses a big kick in the year. But I thought that was a great sign, and so yeah, I'm optimistic.
I had the same read as both of you. I mean, I think I I was really not thrilled with I was a big Stephen Hauschka fan. I thought the snaps and the hold last year did not help him.
Yeah,
that's true.
But and Blair Walsh, bringing a guy with the yips in to be your kicker after having a guy that's just steady Eddie is tough. And but I honestly I fell in love with him after that Vikings game. I love the way he handled it. I think it was a great indication of where his head's at, and I think he's locked in. I think the team fell in love with him after that as well. So
Yeah.
I'm not quite as optimistic as the two of you. I got him at 87%, which is still very good. And we'll see. But I need some help because I've been trying to figure out a nickname. I started calling him Walshy, but I need something better than that because the guy's
the Blair Walsh Project.
The Blair Walsh Project. There.
Name.
Very good. All right. Hopefully it's not a horror though. I'm not sure I like that.
Yeah. Right.
Or that there's tears and snot involved. So, all right. So let's keep going. Keep charging through. Who will lead the Seahawks in sacks this year, Danny?
Gosh, that's a good question. I'm gonna go with Averill.
Cliff Averill.
Yeah,
all right.
I think he's gonna benefit from a lot of. I think Mike Bennett and Frank Clark are gonna do really well too and create a lot of problems. But I just still think Averill's so fast off the edge. Great first step. He's amazing with. He's like the underrated skill set he has is like an amazing ability to hit the passing arm of the quarterback as they're going forward.
Yep.
It's like a crazy hand-eye coordination or whatever. But so I'm going to go with Averill. I think he'll have a career year just based on the fact that Seahawks defensive line is looking so strong. It's going to free him up to make some plays.
Yeah, he's 31, which doesn't give me that much pause because it's a position and a stat where I don't think that matters that much at that age. We've seen around the league guys just continuing to crush it well into their early 30s. But I'll go with Clark just for that reason. I think it's, a coin flip between the two of them.
Got it. I actually have Clark as well. And the next question is who will be second on the team in sacks. I'm going to go with Averill as my second.
Oh, me too.
I'm assuming you're going to.
I'll go with Clark. Yeah, Clark second then.
Clark, got it.
Yeah.
That helps us catch up a little bit. We're moving through these questions.
Very good.
Now, who will lead the Seahawks in rush attempts?
This is the one. Who do you want me to go first?
Mina, why don't you go first?
I think it's going to be Eddie Lacy.
Lacy. All right.
This is tough. I'm going to go with Carson. Screw it.
Oh, wow. That's
Screw
bold.
it.
I thought Eddie was really good, by the way. I haven't talked to anyone about that. It's just been a secret opinion of mine. But
I have a theory that he looks extremely good on the first rush of the game. And then after that, it's not much. No, that's mostly kidding. I'm also very optimistic about Lacy. But I don't know. I just feel like Pete Carroll kind of loves Carson. If you see the reactions of the bench when he runs the ball and the team, I think the Seahawks value sort of that. I mean, that's why they loved Marshawn Lynch so much, is because Lynch was just bowling over guys. Lynch was pumping up the team. That sort of attitude rubbed off on the defense, all that stuff.
That touchdown he had, I went back and watched it because I wanted to see who was blocking for him. Nobody was blocking for him.
He just bowled the guy.
And I fell in love immediately when I rewatched that.
So the main thing I've been kind of on the Lacy train for a while, but I'm kind of switching it up last minute because I think he's really looked great. Plus, I think he's looked really, really good in the receiving game. Like, he looks really natural. There's no fighting of the football. There's a couple plays where he caught a ball in stride, and he was basically already up to full speed. He just caught it in stride. It was it didn't look effort. There was no effort there. It's just kind of natural catcher. So, this is kind of my bold prediction, I guess, but I think he could end up being the number one guy just because of just the way he runs. I think it's an infectious thing, and that's what Pete Carroll looks for. And I think if Rawls runs like that, he's going to get hurt.
Yeah. I really wanted to put Rawls' name down here. I mean, the guy's supposed to be the starter, and I think that he's looked great, at least in training camp practices. But even last year, I mean, yes, he was hurt, but week to week, it was like Pete Carroll would always comment on the fact that after a game in which he got around 20 carries, anytime he gets over 15 carries, he doesn't seem to practice the next week. And I just don't know that his body's going to hold up. So I've got Eddie Lacy, number one as well, but it's tough. I think it could go any number of directions. And it wouldn't shock me if you're right, that Carson ends up, leading them at the end of the year.
It'd be crazy.
It would be crazy. It'd be crazy good, I think. All right, Russell Wilson. Have you guys heard of this guy?
Yeah, you guys see him at the fight?
Yeah, he's like.
I don't want to talk about it. Let's just.
So Mina, his career passer rating is 99.6. This is an over/under. Is he going to be over or under that number this year?
That's so high, man. I think he's gonna have a great year, but that number is really high. I want to say, last year was obviously below, and the year before was insane. I think he could finish like in the low 100s pretty easily. So I'm gonna take the over.
You got it, Danny.
Yeah, I was thinking somewhere around like 102.
Yeah.
With an upside to, honestly, he could break 110. But I'm gonna go conservative and still say the over.
All right, I've got him over as well. I had a question last year. I don't know if you guys know, but there's been rumors that I'm a Russell Wilson hater because I once predicted Matt Flynn to win the starting quarterback role.
I did not know that. I was tracking Matt Flynn's flight to Miami. I was like, why are they letting him go to Miami? So anyone who says they weren't high on Matt Flynn is a liar.
And I was the only one last year of all our predictors to pick Russell Wilson to win the MVP. Which, goes to show you how much I hate him. But
it could have been different if he had gotten hurt. So
yeah, I don't know. I didn't put it in here this year because I anyway. I don't want to keep answering the same question the same way, but I think he's in for a great year.
Yeah.
All right, but his chief challenge in doing what Russell Wilson can do has been the offensive line. Last year, this team allowed 42 sacks. Question here is the closest to the pin. How many sacks will they allow this year? I will offer you a little bit of information to help you as you're thinking about this. I published some stats this afternoon that for the preseason, just preseason, I looked at the sack rate, the percentage of times that Russell Wilson was sacked in the preseason over his career, based on the number of attempts and total dropbacks. His percentage of sacks this year, sack rate is 4.6%, which is roughly half of what it's been the last three preseasons. So it's the lowest it's been since his rookie year. So take that for under advisement. And with that information, Danny, what's your prediction for how many sacks he will?
How many sacks he's gonna take? Let's see. I'm gonna go with 35.
35.
I think that. And that still feels a little high. I think that the offensive line is garbage. Well, in terms of pass protection, anyway. But I think I saw a stat a couple days ago. Like he's steadily gotten rid of the ball faster and faster throughout his career. I think that's been a huge focus, and I think that's going to be a big deal. Last year, the sack percentage was 6.9%.
Yep.
I think it'll get a lot lower this year. I think it'll be more like in the 4s or 5s. 5s probably. So that's my guess. Somewhere in the 5s, and he'll give up 35 sacks.
Mina?
Yeah, the getting rid of the ball thing is important. It looks like his footwork in the pocket has improved, something I've noticed just over the preseason, just little subtle things he's doing.
Balance and stuff.
Yeah, it's very encouraging. But yeah, I'm going to go with, so they had 42 last year, you said?
42 last year, and Danny predicted 35.
Oh, that's probably about right. I'm going to go with 36 and go a little bit above Danny.
Nice.
35 would have put him right at the median last year.
What's that? Say that again.
So 35 would have put him right kind of in the middle of the NFL last year. The Browns gave up 66 sacks last year. Jeez.
Holy smokes.
But yeah, 35 is like right in the mid-range. So for what that's worth.
Yeah, another number that's interesting that people may not remember is for the first 6 games of last season, the Seahawks were second in the league in sack rate allowed. They were
second worst, right?
Second best.
Oh, second best?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They started out last year like gangbusters. And a lot of it was how fast Russell Wilson was throwing the ball. And he this preseason, I mean, he's down around this last game, he was 2.44 seconds.
Wow.
Which is, elite, Tom Brady kind of level.
Fire Bevel.
So I am going with 31 sacks this year, which would be a huge change.
I like
That'd
it.
Be awesome. That would be awesome.
And we'll see how that plays out. This is a weird one. All right. And it's related to the fact that I think the Seahawks wide receiver room is so interesting this year. It's very hard to predict. So I think we could probably we can all three of us assume that maybe Doug Baldwin's likely to be their leader in receptions, and maybe Jimmy Graham is number 2. But let's throw it out there. The question here is, who will be third on the Seahawks in receptions this year?
Lockett.
Yeah, that one feels pretty easy for me to go with Lockett also.
You're going with Lockett. All right.
Now the fourth would be really hard to guess.
No idea.
For me. Whether it's like, I don't trust Richardson to stay healthy. I don't know about what Curse's role is going to be. And then I don't even know, like, the final couple guys. Is it going to be Casey Williams, Darbo? Is Tanner McAvoy going to make it? There's so many question marks back in that kind of like secondary group or whatever. So.
So I'm going to mix it up a little bit here. I think Lockett's a great guess. I'm going to go with Jimmy Graham. I think that Lockett may be number 2.
Oh, that'd be cool. I could see that.
I think there'll be more targets wide, and Graham will be number 3. So that's what I've got.
I feel like we forget how good Lockett was.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm kind of underrating it just because he's been hurt for a while.
You guys want him to return kicks or not?
Something
I've been thinking about a lot.
That's kind of tied up with another player that I like. I mean, I really like J.D. McKissick. And I'd like to see them find a spot on the roster for him, partially because I'd like him to be returning kicks and punts for at least the start of the season.
Sacrificial lamb.
I would rather Lockett,
get Sermon and Earl Thomas trade, but McKissick is in third.
Yeah. So I would rather him not be returning kicks for at least for the beginning of the season. How about you?
I'm with you.
Same here.
So Danny, I know what you're going to say here because you've made it very clear so far. But this next question is, will Chris Carson start a game this season?
Yeah, I'm going to go with yes on that one.
Would have been very
previously stated
anything else. Mina, how about you?
Yeah, I think he will too. I still stick with Lacy as getting, the biggest volumes. I think they're going to ride him in the beginning, but I think Chris Carson definitely will.
No, I was going to say yes, but to make things interesting, I'm going to go with no. There's a lot of people in front of him. He's still a rook. And let's hope that Thomas Rawls and Eddie Lacy and CJ Prosise are all around enough to take those number 1 carries. Curious, Danny, how many games do you think he will start? This isn't a prediction that I'm going to capture, but what's your guess?
I mean, I'm kind of with you guys that it might not happen right away. So something like, I'll just say like over under on 10.
Wow.
Wow. This is a very clear picture of where Danny sees Chris Carson, and
I'm kind of going all in on the Carson thing. I'm going all in on the Carson thing right now, just because.
I love it.
I mean, there's still I just don't know if Rawls can stay healthy. Like I think Rawls will be the starter if he can stay healthy. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But I just don't see that happening. So I don't know. Carson's just been so impressive. Why not? Let's just go for it. And I'll be happy to be wrong if Rawls stays in there and Lacy looks great.
You're right too.
Yeah.
I like that. Now, see, the trade deadline's gotten moved back a little bit, right? And they've made it possible for teams to potentially make moves. It hasn't really happened that much so far, but Given the Seahawks situation at tackle, the question here for you, Mina, is will the Seahawks trade for another offensive lineman?
No.
No.
I just think
Pretty strong. Strong no.
Just based on, what we've seen in the past, that's what I'm going off of here and how they treat the position.
Yeah.
Danny?
Yeah, I'm going to say no just because it seems like if they were thinking about doing that, they already would have done it. There's a couple guys. I mean, now they could pick up guys on like the waiver wire or like something like that. But if they were going to go for a big name like, Dwayne Brown, I think was a name that people were throwing around or whoever, I think they probably would have already done that. And I don't think it's going to happen. They're too conservative at that position, I think, right now. So that's kind of their thinking.
Yeah, I think that it's far more likely that they don't make a trade, but I'm going with yes. And it's with the idea that with the big cut down coming, that there's going to be someone that they're going to make some, 7th round conditional pick trade for.
Yeah.
To give them another tackle that they don't want to have to take a chance. They don't
control. For waivers. I could see that for sure. I could see that.
I've got a theory around how they could. David Sharp is someone who I'm interested in from the Raiders. He was a 4th round pick this year. He's played pretty well in Donald Penn's absence. Huh. Could the Seahawks decide to package up some of their draft picks that might not make the team, like maybe an Amara Darboh, maybe Tedrick Thompson?
Man, I would love to see them do that. That would be awesome.
Maybe that's possible, but that would be a pretty that would be pretty optimistic. So Ethan Posick, a draft pick this year, a lineman that's on the team, that was coming on gangbusters and then kind of has subsided a little bit the last couple games. Mina, do you believe he will start a game for the Seahawks this year at any line position?
Oh, yeah. Any position, yeah. Just because it's our line.
Just because conditioning in reality.
Yep.
I'm with you. I think he's going to start a game just because the fact is I highly doubt the same group of guys will all start 16 games. Honestly, it's like he can play center, he can play guard, he might be able to play right tackle. That gives them a lot of value, when you're probably only having 8 or 9 guys on the offensive line. So, yeah, he'll start a game, whether it's because of Jermaine Ifedi being terrible or because of injury.
Yeah, I think I'm going with he will not. And it's because I'm being optimistic about the health of the line and also pessimistic about the fact that I think, Tom Cable continually prefers guys that are better run blockers than pass blockers. And so I think on the interior, guys like either Ibushi or Glowinski would get first dibs on guard play. And I hope Justin Britt stays healthy, knock on wood. So I think Ifedi's fixture there. Whether people like it or not. And if there's any
that would be ideal. That would clearly be ideal, but
it doesn't mean that he's playing well.
Yeah.
I thought he looked pretty good last week, but that's one game.
I agree. I think he's steadily made progress from being a total dumpster fire as a pass blocker to being like maybe a bonfire. I don't know. It's dwindling, needless to say. So all right. The Seahawks at one time had, I believe, 4 straight seasons of leading the NFL in points allowed, their defense. Pull it off last year. Which NFL team will lead the league in points allowed this year? Number one scoring defense.
Denver.
With Denver.
Did you go to
Denver? Was it Denver last year? I'm just trying to remember how it shook out.
I don't believe
it was New England that gave up the fewest amount of points.
Yes, it was New England. That's right.
Yeah.
And I think the Vikings and Giants.
It's definitely not going to be New England. It's definitely not going to be the Giants. In my mind, it's between this season. It's between Seattle, Denver, Houston. That's it. Those are my top 3. So I'll go with I think the Denver defense is going to be on the field too much. You know what? Screw it. I'll go with Seattle. Let's do it.
Nice.
I was just looking at Denver's schedule. They got Carolina, Indianapolis, Bengals, Bucks, Falcons, Chargers, Texans, Chargers, Raiders, Saints.
That offense
Patriots.
is so bad, too.
They got a tough schedule.
I wanted to go with Giants because I think that was the best defense in the NFL last year. But their division, going twice against the Cowboys, I think the Eagles' offense is a little bit better. The Redskins, and then I look at the Seahawks division, and we'll get to that in a second. But the Seahawks have a built-in advantage there, and I think are looking pretty solid. So I'm also going to go with the Seahawks, but it's not as easy as past years where I've really thought they were far and away the best defense. Oh,
I should issue a correction. I was reading their schedule from last year, the Broncos, so I don't know what their schedule looks like this year.
The division is the best. I don't think they're I think the NFC South is the best. I think they're the second best, but compared to ours, come on.
Yeah. The Broncos are going to face the Raiders twice, the Chiefs twice, and the Chargers twice. They're all solid offenses.
I'm going to go with the Seahawks.
Wow.
We're so
the Homer trio.
Yeah, but are we though? I mean, they went like 3 years in a row, right?
Yeah, and they were number one last year until Earl went out. So
it's not really a homer pick. It's more just this is a great defense.
Yeah.
And they have and they have a weak schedule as far as I was aware. I thought in terms of DVOA and all that, it wasn't looking.
Yeah.
Yes, Warren Sharp's got it as the second easiest schedule in the NFL based off of predicted wins of their opponents by Vegas.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, to me, that's not really a homer pick. It's just. I mean, of course, the homer never says when he's a homer, but
that's okay, Danny.
It's just his defense has been amazing for 4 or 5 years. It's not that weird to say that they'll be good again.
It is not weird. It's okay, Danny.
Yeah.
No one's leaving a homer.
So screw you guys.
All right, Danny, we've got 11 minutes to get you off and onto your deadline, and we've got 8 questions left. Let's
quick rapid fire. Here we go.
All right. Over under. These next 3 are all over under. Arizona Cardinal wins. Vegas is predicting 8 wins. I'm making the over under 8.5. So will the Cardinals win more or less than 8.5? Danny.
Over.
Mina.
Under.
I've got them as over. I think they're one of the most oddly underrated teams in the NFL this year.
I think their variance is insane. I think they could be really good or really trash, and there's no way of knowing right now.
Yeah, they're definitely a wild card. Los Angeles Rams win total 5.5 over under. Danny.
Over. I think that defense is too good, and I think that McVay is going to get the offense going a little bit, which will give them a chance to get to that 7-9 range.
Interesting. Mina.
Over, but I see them at 6-10, but over.
I've got them as under. I think that I just don't think they're ready yet.
Well, hopefully, if Donald's not playing, that will help.
That'd be so awesome. And look, they lost William Hayes. That's a guy that I just killed the Seahawks more than Donald in some ways.
Uniquely tortured us, yes.
Yeah. So
the guy that got kicked out of the game at CenturyLink.
Yes, and
that Breno Giacomini taunted? Is that what happened? Am I remembering that?
I don't know if Breno was on that team or not. I'm trying to
remember.
There
was one Ram who Breno taunted as on his way out, and the ref couldn't see him, and he was standing behind him waving goodbye. I can't remember.
Sounds right.
That's my favorite Seahawks moments. But
anyways. All right, on to the 49ers. Their win total, over under 4.5. These are, again, the Vegas predictions.
Under
for me.
4.5. Yeah, because I would put them at 4.
I had them at 4, yeah.
Under.
Yeah, because I think their defense is going to be bad.
I got them as under as well. Although I really love their draft. I think they're going in a good direction, and I think John Lynch looks like a decent GM so far. So we'll see how that plays out.
Like the front 7. That's it.
All right. The Seahawks will. Now we're getting into it, guys. This is the home stretch. The Seahawks will win blank games this year. Danny.
I'm trying to remember if I've said anything before.
I
Like
have.
I think you've said
if I've
things.
given an
I'm
official
pretty sure
guess
you've
yet.
said things.
I've gone through the schedule and done this.
Okay, I think if I have given a guess anywhere officially, I think it was 12. So I'm going to stick with 12 and 4.
12. Mina?
I did 11, and that's baking in a Rams loss just because
Jeff
it's
isn't
so
here
hard.
anymore.
12 wins is so hard to predict,
Yeah.
But I have them at 11 and 5.
All right. I'm going with 12 as well. And I will potentially revise that when I go back and actually look at the schedule. Teams that will make the playoffs a team that will make the playoffs that did not last year. I am going to go with the Titans.
Yeah.
Mina, how about you?
Yeah. You know what? I'll go with the Panthers.
Damn it, Mina.
That's a good one. Yep.
Shoot. Well, what does that leave me?
The Panthers and the Titans are pretty much too.
The Broncos? No, I don't want to go with the Broncos, actually.
Yeah. You can take one of ours, Danny. It's not a big deal.
I'm going to go with a real dark horse here, the Vikings.
Vikings. It's not a bad call.
The Vikings, to me, look like the Cardinals in that they're like a crazy wild card. I can't figure them out.
Yeah, they're in the mix. I
think they're going to have a very strong defense, and they have a lot of good players on offense, but it's Sam Bradford for one, which I think he's been better than people give him credit for. But yeah, so they look like a real wild card team to me, and not in the literal sense. Like they're like a team I don't know what they're going to be, but I think they could be in the mix.
Well, this next one, I think I should know the answer, but does anyone not have the Seahawks as the NFC West division winner?
No.
Yeah, no, I got them winning the West.
Yeah,
all right. So same here. We'll move on. The number 1 seed in the NFC will be
Green Bay.
Green Bay.
I think Rodgers is going to be absolutely insane this year. Although I will say, I watched yesterday. I don't know what's up with Brian Bulaga. I think they plan on having him by week 1, but if he's out, that's an issue.
Yep, that offensive line, I think, is one of the most underreported stories this season.
Yeah, the interior.
I'm really curious how that team looks without a real good running back.
Oh, no, dude. Ty Montgomery, I think, is going to shred. He looked really good. But the line is an issue. Anyways, Danny?
This is a really tough one. I don't have as much faith in the Packers because I don't think their defense is any good.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, last year every good team was like super imbalanced. So I don't know if that even means anything. I think it's a safe. What?
I think it's us and them for 1 and 2.
Yeah, and then I would throw in the Falcons too. Actually, I think the Falcons are going to be a lot better on defense this year, and that'll kind of make up for them. Probably regressing a little bit on offense. But I think the Falcons will be pretty good again. So to answer your question, though, I think the Seahawks are going to be the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you, Danny. I actually think the Falcons are probably the number 1 competition for this top seed. I think they've made real strides on defense, and I think that offense is filthy still. That was
just a matter of if they have that Super Bowl hangover that
Right, and the Shanahan loss. I think the NFC East is wildly difficult to predict this season. I have Cowboys taking a huge step back, which not everyone agrees with me.
Wait, you say who's going to take a huge step back?
Dallas. I think that defense is horrendous.
Yeah,
I think is definitely not talented on defense, but Marianelli has seemed to make lemonade out of lemons for years. But yeah, the Cowboys are the other one, Mina. Like, I'm not big on the Packers. I think that one for the same reasons Danny called out, that defense I'm not big on. I think that offensive line's a real question mark. But in the end, I look at it and it depends on how the division plays out. But I think the Seahawks have a division that's going to allow them to pile up a little bit more wins. And I think their schedule is a little more favorable. And I think that the Panthers are going to be significantly better this year. I think the Bucks are going to be significantly better this year. I think the Saints might even be significantly better this year. So I think that's going to be tough on the Falcons.
Yeah.
I'm super not playing.
What's that?
I mean, the best argument for the Packers, I think, is that division. I mean, unless you're a big Detroit believer, who I know a lot of people are, or The Vikings, Danny's got making the playoffs. The Bears certainly are not good. So that's probably my best reason to go with the Packers, but I still have the Seahawks.
I was just saying, I'm so glad we're not playing the NFC. We're playing the East and not the South this year. That division is just filthy. And I think we can beat every team in the East.
All right. So that brings us to the NFC Champion. We have these last 2 questions, and you can imagine where we're going. NFC Champion and then Super Bowl winner.
Boy.
You can take them both at the same time. So, Danny, I will go first, just to give you guys some time to think. You know, I picked the Seahawks the last few years, and it certainly seems homerish, I think, but I think they've been the best team, and it hasn't worked out for one reason or the other. Everything I'm seeing, it makes me think this is the best Seahawks team since 2013. And not just from a talent perspective, may not even be from a talent perspective, but from where their heads are at and how they're playing and their command of the game that they're playing. There's just something, and I've talked to a couple of the guys and a couple of the coaches. There's something that's different this year. And, you know, yes, that's very hand wavy, but I think they're ready to grow up. And I think they've been super talented. I think this is going to be the smarter, if not more athletic team than the ones that have won Super Bowls in the past. So I've got them winning the NFC, and I have them winning their second Super Bowl ring. Danny.
It's funny because, like, honestly, I can't disagree with any of that. Even like the pessimist in me is like, it would have to be like the Seahawks sort of self-destructing again for them to like not do well this year, in my mind. I think they're the most balanced team in the NFC. You know, they still have a great defense in my mind, and their offense could be great.
And don't forget special teams. Special teams has been a flaw in this team since 2013. I think this is their best special teams unit since then.
Yeah. I mean, and I've been saying the same thing. Like, I think that this is the deepest team that we've seen since 2013. It just feels wrong to just say the same thing, but like the Seahawks are, to me, the favorites in the NFC. And so I got them going back to the Super Bowl, and man, it would be fun to watch them play the Patriots again.
Yes.
And win.
So is that, I've got you with them in the Super Bowl. Who do you have winning the Super Bowl?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. The Seahawks.
Nice. All right, Mina, where are you at?
So I think they're going to win the NFC. I think the Edelman injury is a lot bigger of a deal than some of my colleagues do. I've spent a lot of time thinking about that and won't get into all the reasons, but, you know, everyone just assumes that New England can plug and play. And I think Julian Edelman is the most unique player on that. I mean, well, Robert Gronkowski is the most unique player, but unique to what they have to do to win every game and what Tom Brady needs at this stage in his career. All that said, I have proven that I am a successful reverse jinxer, so I am picking the Patriots to win the Super Bowl.
Love it. I fully support that. And we are right at 3 o'clock. So we've gone through. I will publish the results for these predictions. I want to thank Danny Kelly.
Oh, wait, this is going public? Shit.
Oh, this is absolutely. I hate to tell you, but there's been people already watching.
Damn it. Okay.
And I will publish all this. I want to thank you, Danny, for taking time. I know you've got an article you got to finish here. And I expect to see some Seahawks predicted to be leading things, you know, even though you said you don't. And Mina, thank you. Super, as a side thing, really quickly, super proud of both of you guys as local folks who've really had your careers blossom. It's just been fun to watch. So I know that people on Twitter and people that are Seahawks fans are cheering for you guys. Maybe not as much as they cheer for the team, but certainly are looking forward to seeing, you know, bigger and better things from both of you the rest of the year.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for having us. Fun.
Take care, guys.
I have a forum where I can use the word "we" over and over and over.
I noticed that and I loved it. So yeah.
Oh man, I thought I had gotten it out of my system, but it's all right. Take care. I gotta run.
All right.
Bye.
See you guys.